So today's session, we are learning about feedback systems, how to collect feedback, how to use feedback within our business and make sure that it's a systematic thing that we're doing, collecting that feedback. And using ChatGPT to do that and make it a quicker and simple process. So first of all, why is feedback so important in the business, in anybody's business? We all know that feedback is important, but kind of what are the reasons for that? So first of all, we should always be striving to deliver as much value as we possibly can to our clients. And sometimes we may think we know what is valuable to a client, but they are the ones that know what they see as most valuable. So getting the feedback from them direct and saying, here's what I want, these are the things that we can improve on, or this is what I would love to see in the service. Getting that feedback directly from them is really, really valuable because it allows you to tailor your service to meet those needs of those people. And you want to be making sure that you are asking feedback from the clients in your business that you actually like working with and that you enjoy, the clients that are appropriate, that fit the criteria that you like to work with, your ideal clients. So if you're going to ask feedback from all of your clients that you actually kind of dread working with, or maybe they're in an industry that you really don't like working with, if you're asking for feedback from them, you might be getting the wrong ideas because that's going to draw in more of the people who are not appropriate for your business. So you want to be making sure that the people that you're asking for feedback for are generally your ideal clients, okay? So we should be striving to deliver a lot of value. I mean, as a principle, we should be doing that anyway because I think it's more genuine and it's the way that businesses should be run. You know, the client comes first. You should be trying to deliver value. That should be your goal. But as well, when you are delivering a high quality and a high value service, that allows you to charge a higher price and therefore work with less clients and still earn the same income and then deliver more value to those clients. So when you charge that higher price, you can work with less clients and dedicate more time and more effort to those fewer clients that you are working with, whilst not kind of sacrificing your profits or having to cut corners on anything like that. So it's really important that you deliver high value. Getting that positive feedback and also testimonials and kind of success stories and things like that as well, hearing clients' results and hearing their kind of side of the story of their experience of working with you. That's really, really powerful as a marketing tool as well, because we know because of the powers of influence, there are several laws of influence, and one of which is called social proof, which means that we are herd animals. We do what the group does. We do what the majority does. So if we see that lots of other people are really enjoying that service because we've looked at the reviews, we've looked at the testimonials, and lots of other people are saying great things about that, we're more likely to want to work with that person because they seem more credible. They seem more, everybody else is saying they're good, so they must be good. It's the same reason that when you go to buy a product on Amazon, you might look at the reviews first, and if somebody else is saying, I bought this and it broke within a week, don't buy it, then you're going to listen to that person because you are also a consumer as they are. You're the buyer and so are they. So if they've had a bad experience, then you want to avoid it as well and kind of learn from their experience. So that's what social proof is doing. But we can take the positive feedback that we receive from our clients and use that in our social media, put it on our website, put it in emails, whatever, in your brochures, and just show people that people enjoy your service, they have a great experience, and they are getting good results. So when you can get feedback, especially that includes kind of numbers and statistics, and I managed to double my profit or whatever it is, when you can get the numbers and stuff, that's really, really powerful. You saying yourself that you can give them a great service is one thing, but when other people are advocating for you, that's much more powerful. So collecting those feedback stories and success stories and things like that, really, really powerful. And we want to be using those in the business where we can. Now, of course, you do want to make sure that you're getting permission to use those. The more powerful kind of feedback is when you can attribute a name to it and even an image as well. So if you're looking like at somebody's website and they've got a testimonial and there's no kind of who it's from or anything, it looks less sincere. Whereas if you can put the testimonial and then somebody's name and then their business maybe and then an image of them, that just looks more real and more genuine because it's a real person leaving that testimonial. So if you can also be getting people's permission to use that, that's a really kind of important part of the process as well. So one of the first questions that we might ask when it comes to creating feedback systems in our business is, when do we need to be getting that feedback? When is the appropriate time to be asking for that feedback? So if anybody's watching on YouTube or Facebook right now, let me know in the comments where you think the best kind of time in the relationship is to get that feedback. Is it after a certain event that happens? Is it after a certain service that you deliver? You know, what part of that relationship do you think is the best time to be asking for the feedback? When do you think is the most powerful? And when do you make it a point in your business to ask for that feedback? Do you have feedback systems? Do you even ask for feedback at all? You know, I'd like to know. A lot of people don't have these systems in their business. They're so powerful, they're so essential, but people just kind of hope and pray that, you know, they've got a feedback button somewhere and they just hope and pray that somebody's going to leave them some nice feedback at some point, but they don't actually have processes in place to encourage people to take that action. So, you know, what systems do you have in place? I'd like to know. But whilst you're doing that, we're also going to go ahead and ask ChatGPT what ChatGPT thinks that we should do. So let me bring that up. Let me find the right one. So here we go. So I've asked ChatGPT a very simple prompt. I've just asked, what would be the best persona? Oh, hang on, no, this is the wrong one. I want to ask, I've got so many chats prepared for you all. Feedback scripts, it's this one. So suggest the best times throughout a prospect/client relationship with their accounting professional to ask for feedback or a review. Really simple prompt. You know, we don't have to go into all of that detail of, we will do later, and I'll explain the detail of the prompt and the layout of the prompt, but this is just a really simple one just to get a couple of ideas. We're looking at idea generation so that we can start to build systems around that. So here's what we've got. The best times to ask for feedback or review throughout the client relationship with an accounting professional are at key touch points where the client has recently experienced a valuable interaction or milestone. So here are a few options. We have after they have completed their onboarding, which might be, you know, they've now got an experience of what the service is like. They've had a smooth kind of onboarding into the business. That's a great time to ask. Maybe after delivering a significant service, maybe you've done them a great financial report, a tax return, an advisory session. Maybe you've managed to save them a load of tax or something and they've had a great result. That might be a time to ask them. After a major milestone, so following annual or quarterly reviews or the end of a tax season when the client has seen clear outcomes or received significant advice, that might be a good time to ask them. After implementing new technology or a service, so if you've done, you know, implemented them a new tool that's helped save them a lot of time, that might be a great time to ask them, how are you finding that tool? You know, how did you find the whole process? Others putting that tool in place for you, so on and so forth. We might have during our regular check-ins, so you should be probably as a bare minimum be having an annual check-in with your clients. And that's where you'll reprice them, go through their services, and ask them all these very other things to help improve their service. And as part of that, you might ask for referrals and you might ask for feedback. So that should be a regular part of your check-in process, at least on an annual basis. Maybe it's after resolving an issue so that you can double check that they are now happy that they've resolved that issue, or, you know, ask how the process was, whether they've got any feedback, suggestions for next time. Maybe it's at the end of the year or the tax season. Maybe it's at the anniversary of their engagement. So we've been in business together now for 5 years. We'd like to know how you found it or what you would like to see in the future, etc. Or maybe it's before a referral campaign. So if you're about to run a referral campaign, requesting a review ahead of it can give you fresh testimonials to use for your promotion. So those are a couple of different examples of when you might be asking for that feedback. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use a prompt kind of template to create different examples of emails and various different methods as well for getting those templates. So what I want to do just before that, we know now when to ask for feedback, but maybe we now need to ask, how do we get that feedback? What is the best method of getting that feedback? So in another chat, I have asked ChatGPT, again, a really simple prompt. What is the best way to ask for client feedback? E.g., should it be face-to-face, on a phone call, email, a survey, Google review, etc.? What should we be asking for? And what it's done with just that really simple prompt as well, that was a really basic prompt, it's decided to go through each of those examples and tell me what would be the advantage of doing it in that way, and also what would be the disadvantage. So it suggested that face-to-face calls is advantageous for the reasons that it encourages open conversation and detailed feedback. It allows you to address issues or questions on the spot, and it builds stronger personal relationships. So with your top clients, your very best clients, maybe you dedicate that time to make it a face-to-face appointment where you ask for that feedback. The downsides, of course, is that that is time consuming and it's not scalable if you have a lot of clients to go through. And some clients may feel less comfortable giving really honest feedback and criticism if they're in a face-to-face appointment. So face-to-face is one option. The second one is to have a phone call or a video call. So face-to-face might be you literally go and visit them in their office or something like that, whereas you might have a phone call or a video call instead. Again, this is advantageous because it's more personal than written communication. You can ask follow-up questions and it's suitable for building rapport. The downsides, again, it requires time commitment and also a coordination of trying to plan that time in. And again, some clients may feel put on the spot. They might not give as thoughtful responses because if you just kind of pick up the phone and call them randomly, they may not have the information to hand, okay? So pros and cons of the phone call or the video call. You could send an email. So this is helpful, advantageous, because it's convenient for clients to respond at their own pace, in their own time. It's great for scalability and record keeping, so you can send one general email to everybody, and you can guide feedback with specific questions. I would also add that the helpful thing with email is that you can pre-schedule them for certain timelines within your client's relationship. So if you have an onboarding series and you send them maybe 5 emails over the first 2 weeks to help them get set up on different systems that you have in the business, then you can schedule an email that goes out on week 3, for example, that asks for that feedback. You can schedule an email that goes out 1 year after signing a contract and stuff. So you can pre-schedule those and make sure that they are systematically and automatically going out, and you don't have to remember to do that. It just happens on autopilot. So I think that's a great reason for doing email as well. The downside is that you potentially will have a lower response rate in doing it in that way because people might just ignore the email or they forget about it, and it also may result in shorter or less detailed responses. So that's the payoff that you might get for doing it that way. You could do an online survey like Google Forms or typed form, and I can show you a prompt as well where we can research what the best tool is for doing that. This will give you more quantitative data or structured feedback. It's easily scalable for large groups. It's easy to analyze trends in the data when you do it in that way, especially if you're doing something where, rather than getting a paragraph of written feedback, you have something like a 5-star rating system, because then you can take the averages and stuff from that and put the 5-star review, whatever the average is on your 5-star question. You can put that on your website and places like that. So you can get averages and data. And it can be automated and integrated. Again, you can include the online survey in an email, so you can combine these methods. The downsides, again, response rates might be low and they're less personal. You could also have Google reviews or something like this. This is great for putting on like your website as well. So it helps build trust with potential clients. It's great for SEO and online reputation. So SEO is search engine optimization. That's you will rank higher on Google or Bing or wherever they're searching for you if you have a Google review kind of list. And public format encourages thoughtful and detailed responses because it will be seen publicly. So downside is that clients might hesitate to post negative feedback publicly, and it's not ideal for gathering detailed internal feedback. Normally people just put like 1 or 2 lines, okay? And then you might have a post-service follow-up. This could either be through any of those methods, email, face-to-face, calling, etc. But it's immediate feedback after they have delivered that service. So it does give us some hints for best practices here as well, which I didn't ask for. Remember how short that prompt was? What is the best way to ask for client feedback? And it's gone through all of those. It's given me pros and cons of each. And then at the end, it said, for best practices, it recommends mixing those methods. So using a combination of different approaches so that some people who would prefer to have a quick phone call, some people would prefer to sit and type it out. So you're kind of giving them more opportunity to respond in different ways. Be specific. So tailor your feedback request to a particular service, product, or interaction to get focused insight. So if you've just done a specific service for somebody, or you've maybe done a speaking event, or they've come to the year end, or whatever it is, it's a specific event, you can tailor the wording and the content of the feedback request form, whether that email, whatever. You can tailor that to the specific thing that they've done or gone through, or time frame. Incentivize it. You could offer a small reward for completing a survey or review, and make sure that you follow up as well. So if you've sent an email and they've not responded, maybe you send just a quick follow-up one a week later or something like that. So those are different methods of reaching out. We can also look at what kind of tools maybe we want to be using for collecting that feedback. So there were various different methods there. There was email, there was face-to-face. Now, if it's something like a phone call, that's pretty obvious. If it's a video meeting, you might be wanting to use something like Zoom or GoToWebinar or one of these, or Google Meets or whatever the other ones are, Teams. In this post-COVID world, I'm pretty sure we've all got access to something like that, some video meeting software. But if you wanted to collect via sort of a survey or an online form, there are various different things that you might like to use. So again, really simple prompt here. Research the best tools to use to collect client feedback and testimonials. Give me a table with your results. Now I could make that prompt much more complicated and complex, and we will look at some more complicated prompts in a second, but I'm just showing you at the base level of when you're getting started with ChatGPT, how simple these prompts can be and still get you great results. So I'm using here ChatGPT 4.0, which has website access, and what it will do is when I give it that prompt and say research, and you can add, maybe use the internet to research, it will go and it will look at several websites and find what tools are available, but then also that extra information about pricing, ease of use, and integration capabilities. So I didn't ask it for any of that, but it's given me a table with the tool, then the key features, then the pricing, the ease of use, and the integration capabilities. So the tools that it has found for me, I've got Typeform, SurveyMonkey, Google Forms, Trustpilot, Video Ask. So that one's for collecting video testimonials, which is even more powerful than a written testimonial, by the way, because you can see that real person. Testimonials.to, Nice Job, Hotjar, Intercom, and Delighted. So some of those I have never heard of, but it's given us some of the key features for each one. So Typeform has customizable surveys, conditional logic. templates and data analysis. It's got the pricing, it's told me it's got a free basic plan, but then paid plans start at $25 per month. The ease of use, it's very user friendly, and it integrates nicely with Zapier, which is a tool that speaks to different tools. So it integrates with that, and also Slack, MailChimp, HubSpot, and more. So it's given me quite a lot of information there. If I don't already have a tool that does something like that, where it collects feedback, I can now go and check out these different tools and see which one's the most appropriate for my business, which one will do what I want it to do. So if you're really, really keen on grabbing video testimonials and you want people to be able to do that, then maybe you'll prefer this one down here that's called Video Ask. Collect video testimonials, real-time video responses, and it's mobile friendly. Okay? Maybe you like working with Google, so Google Forms is your go-to, you know? You can just see which one works best for you. So now that we know when to ask for feedback, how we're going to ask for it, and the tools that we're going to use to do it, let's now look at a prompt to create those emails and the way that you would reach out. So first of all, we have here, these are the times to ask out. These are the times to ask for that feedback. We've got, you know, after onboarding, after delivering a significant service, after major milestones, after implementing new technology or services, during regular check-ins, and so on. I've just picked one of these, and we're going to go through and look at a couple of different examples, and we'll see how we tweak and change this prompt to create it for those different scenarios. So this is the format that we use. I'm also going to show you a different style, which is the one that Mark tends to use, which has kind of hashtags and asterisks and stuff in there. But what I feel sometimes happens is people see all the kind of coding. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. You know, a prompt like this that has all of these hashtags and coding. And I think sometimes that scares people and they think, oh, that's too complicated. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't write a prompt like that. So just to strip it back, I want to show you how easy it is to write these prompts. We're going to look at 5 areas. We're going to look at persona. We're going to give it a role. Task. We're going to give it more context on that task. We're going to tell it what the audience is for, who's going to be reading this or receiving this, and the response format. So this is going back to basics. All you do is type those 5 out, and then we're going to give it a role for fill in each of those gaps. So the first one we're looking at here is, this is going to be, so let me look at the persona first. So you're an expert email copywriter. So first of all, we've chosen our method here as email. We're going to look at phone calls, scripts, other things like that. Our method here is email. Your task is to create a standardized email that goes out to clients of an accounting firm after they have completed the onboarding process, requesting feedback or a review of their services so far. So first of all, we're looking at that onboarding one. So that's its task. I'm now going to expand on that and just give it a little bit more information of what I want that email to look like. So for this, generally I just kind of think in my head, what kind of tick points do I want to hit in that email? Is there anything specific I want it to include? And then I just write it out. Make sure you include these things. So the context section, we've said the tone of the email should be light, friendly, conversational, but still professional. The email should provide a link to complete the feedback form. It should also have a link for them to leave a Google review. So those are things that I want to make sure are included in the email. The rest of it is going to be generated by ChatGPT. They're going to understand, it's going to understand what that email should look like, how it should be formatted, the speech, the things that it should include. That's the extra context I want to make sure it adds. So the audience, the recipient of this email will be clients who have recently signed on with a new accounting professional and have completed the onboarding process. Now, I've added that information in there because I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. Now, if you are using ChatGPT regularly, you can input information into the background of ChatGPT so that it always remembers certain things about your business. So you can use custom instructions to tell it what your clients look like. Give it your ideal client profile. And it will then remember that. It will remember that you are an accounting business. It will remember that your clients are in this industry, for example. It will remember all of that information, and you can then be less specific with your prompts because it already has that information in the background. So I've added this audience just to make that really clear. It may be that sometimes your audience is something internal. If you're building a system within your team, your audience might be something internal. But there we go, we've put in there what the audience is. It's going to be the recipients of the email will be clients who have recently signed on and have completed the onboarding process. Our response format, the response should be an email. Start with the subject line, then the body text, and always include a short PS that summarizes the email. The email should be around 300 words. So I've just given it some information about how I want that email to be laid out and formatted, the length. You might like to put the tone and style in that area rather than the context, as long as it's in there somewhere. This is just an easy way to kind of break down and make sure we're kind of checking off each of those areas within the prompt. So the email that it's generated, we've got the subject line is, we'd love your feedback on your onboarding experience. Hi client, there you would put their first name in. I hope this message finds you well and settling in smoothly with our services. Now that you've completed the onboarding process, we'd love to hear about your experience so far. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. It helps us make sure we're providing the best service possible and improving wherever we can. We'd appreciate it if you could take just a couple of minutes to share your thoughts. You can fill out a quick feedback form here and then insert the link to your form if you have one. And if you've had a great experience with us and feel comfortable sharing it publicly, we'd be thrilled if you could leave us a Google review. Your review not only helps us grow, but also helps others know what they can expect when working with us. You can leave your review here and you insert the link. Thank you so much for choosing us to be your trusted accounting partner. We're excited to continue working with you and helping you reach your financial goals, and then your sign off, best regards, name, position, accounting firm. PS, just a quick recap. We'd love your feedback on the onboarding process, on how the onboarding process went so far. Feel free to share your thoughts through the feedback form, and if you're up for it, a Google review too. And I imagine what you would do there is highlight that text and put a link onto each of those areas. So that is just because we know that when people receive emails, the first thing, the most read thing is the subject line, which is before they've even clicked on it. The second most read thing is the PS. So people jump straight to the end to kind of try and get a skim read of what they're looking at. So we put some information in the PS there as well. So that could be a general email that you now send as standard that goes right at the end of your onboarding series. So if you're onboarding somebody and maybe you've sent them a couple of emails with how to sign on to our online portal, these are the documents we need from you, whatever it is, whatever information that you include in your onboarding, the last email that goes out or towards the end could be this one that says, we'd like to have that feedback from you. So that's a potential one. Now what we're going to do is, using that same format, we're going to look at a slightly different email with one of those different options from above. So this one is now, we're checking in with a client after they have received a great result, or you've delivered a service and they're super, super happy with it. So you've just done something for them specific. You're now reaching out to get specific feedback on that service that you have done for them. So we still have the same layout. We have persona, task, context, audience, response format. My persona is the same, so I'm still writing an email here. So you are an expert email copywriter. Your task is to create a personalized email to send to a client of an accounting firm who has just had an incredible result, saving a huge amount of tax. The email is requesting a short interview or check-in call with the client to get their feedback and celebrate their win. Here's the context. The tone of the email should be light, friendly, conversational, but still professional. And by the way, you can change that and tweak that to whatever suits you and your personal writing style. If you've been on other sessions before, we do also teach how to make your own writing style guide. So if you have that already, you can just add that document and say in the context, you should use the attached writing style guide. So if you already have that ready to hand, you can add that to the prompt. But just for simplicity here, I'm just giving it a few pointers. I want it light, friendly, conversational, but professional. So the email should congratulate the client on their success and request a short call or video meeting to gather a video testimonial this time. So we want to have a little interview with them. Invite them to book a time slot in the attached calendar and then leave a space to add the link. It should offer the alternative of a written testimonial or review. It should explain that we would like to assist others in this way. We would like to assist other people in this way, and the feedback would be hugely helpful. So in this one, we're asking if they would like a phone call or a video call to get that feedback from them, but we're also giving the backup option of, you know, if you're too busy or you don't have the time or you would rather leave a written testimonial, you can do that instead. So we're kind of using multiple methods there. The audience, again, the recipient of this email will be clients of our accounting firm who have received our tax planning service and had a considerable saving. You can add more detail to that if you prefer. You know, it could be anybody that's had a saving of above a certain threshold, maybe $3,000 or more. You know, you can add to that prompt. The response format should be an email format. Again, start with the subject line, then the body text. Always include that short PS that summarizes the email, and then the email should be around 300 words. So it's got that same response format because we're writing an email. So now we have a slightly different email that can go out at a different time. And this is maybe more personalized because it's going after something, a specific service that you've done. So subject line is incredible tax savings. Let's celebrate your win. I hope you're still buzzing after the fantastic result we achieved together with your recent tax savings. We're thrilled to have played a part in such a significant win for you, and we wanted to take a moment to celebrate. We'd also love to chat with you about your experience and get your feedback, both to help others who might be in a similar situation and to showcase the incredible results you've achieved. Would you be open to a quick check-in or interview? We're aiming to share your success story, and your feedback would be hugely helpful. You can book a time that works best for you through this link. If a video chat isn't your thing, no worries at all. We'd also appreciate a short written testimonial or review, whichever feels easiest for you. Again, congratulations on this outstanding result. It's been such a pleasure working with you, and we're excited for what's ahead. And then in the PS, we have, we'd love to hear your thoughts and celebrate your success. Feel free to book a time for a quick chat or send us a written testimonial, whichever works best for you. So that's a really nice email, and you can use that as your base. If you don't fully 100% like that, it's something you can generate really, really quickly with that prompt, and then take that and add your own personal touch to it, you know, tweak things a little bit. If you wanted to send this individually for different clients, then maybe rather than it saying, you know, something that's a little bit generic, buzzing after the fantastic result we have achieved together with your recent tax saving, maybe you put something a little bit more detail in there to say, you know, I'm so glad you were able to do this in such a short time, or that you've managed to, here are your results again, that's amazing, to kind of reiterate that. Maybe you add that in there. Maybe you say, it's so amazing that you've managed to achieve this exact result. Would you be welcome to have a story? Kind of reiterate how that result is amazing there, and then ask for the feedback. So, you know, you can add things to these emails, but these are great starting points. So now let's look at something slightly different. We're now going to look at a different way of reaching out rather than email. So now what we're looking at in this one, I believe, is a phone call. We'll find out when I read the prompt, just to remember which order I made these in. But the persona for this one, so we're just trying a different persona now. We've got, you are a customer relations manager with expertise in sales meetings and customer success. So the other one was an email writer. You were a great email writer, but now what we're doing is, I think, a phone call script. So we're looking at something slightly different. We want somebody who can write that script. I wouldn't put in there, personally, I wouldn't put you're a script writer, because that can kind of get theatrical and people start writing, you know, ChatGPT will start to write a script with stage directions and things like that. So we want something like a customer relations manager or HR or something like that. Your task is to create a script for requesting feedback from a client in the annual client check-in meeting. Okay, so this one isn't phone call, this one is in the annual client check-in meeting that you have with them every year. We want just a little bit of an introductory kind of script of how you would bring about asking for that feedback, a bit of a lead in to how you would ask for that feedback. So the context, this script is one part of the whole check-in meeting. It will be towards the end of the meeting, and it needs to only be around 100 words. There will be fill in the blank spaces to provide key details of that individual client's results, including the results they have had, the time frame of those results, and words they themselves have used to reference the standard of the work. These should all be incorporated into the request. So it's going to put me a couple of fill in the blank areas, which if you have just had a full meeting with somebody and they've said different words to you, they've said, oh, the service was wonderful, or we had a great experience, and they've said certain things, or it's helped me relieve so much stress, and they've used those words, you can feedback those words to them and said, so you said to me that you found the service wonderful. Would you be willing to give us a little bit of more feedback on that? And you can ask for your kind of testimonial, your feedback there and then. So audience for this one is the recipient of the script will be clients of our accounting firm that have come in for their annual general meeting. And the response format for this one, the response should be a paragraph of around 100 words reiterating the client's success and then requesting feedback. The tone should be friendly but professional. It should be flattering and persuasive. So in this one, I've put the tone and the kind of style of the writing in the response format rather than the context. As long as it is in there in the prompt, you're good. So here's what it's come up with. Insert client name. Client name, it's been fantastic to see the results you've achieved over the past time frame. So maybe you say over the past 6 months. You've mentioned how, and here we've got another bracket, client's own words about the work. We're so glad to have been part of that success. Seeing your specific results they've achieved really highlights the positive impact we've made together. As we continue to improve and help more clients like yourself, your feedback would be incredibly valuable. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on how we've supported you so far? It would help us ensure we're always delivering the best service possible. So that's a bit of a script that might lead you into getting that feedback in the meeting. Now that might be a little bit too formal, too stuffy, because when you're there in the meeting, you might want to be a little bit more conversational. So you can just go back to the response format and just tweak that and say, actually, I want it to be more conversational, or whatever style you want it to be, informal and whatever, and see what it comes up with when you type those things in, and see if that can help kind of nuance the way you want to say that. Or you take it as it has been made there and you just go away and add your own style to it and edit it yourself. But it's given you that little bit of a script, so which you can then add to your agenda when you go into these meetings. You can add that in there somewhere so that you have a reference of something to remember to go into, ask for that feedback, so that you're always doing it systematically. So next is the phone call, I believe. So we're looking again, that same format, persona, task, context, audience, response. The persona this time, we have you are a customer relations manager that specializes in disputes and complaints. So from that original post that we asked, when should we be asking for feedback, we're now looking at the one where they've just had an issue resolved. So your task is to write a phone call script requesting feedback from a client who has just had an issue resolved. The context, the call should reiterate the apology for the issue in the first place. It should ask if they are okay to give feedback and us record the responses to improve our service. So make sure you're asking for that if it's a phone call. Is it okay if we make notes, or however you want to say that? It should ask several questions of the client to ensure that they are now happy with the way the issue has been resolved. If they have any further requests or feedback, that would help to improve the service in the future, etc. It should wrap up by offering a means of contacting you in the future, a way to reach out in the future with any other requests, issue, or feedback. Okay, that's what we've got in the context. The audience is the recipient of the phone call will be a client who has had an issue that has since been resolved. And I added a little bit more context to that audience section here as well. I've put they could likely be slightly less trusting of the service and need reassuring because they've just had a problem. So maybe that might be their attitude right now. If it's a client that you know and you know that they're going to bounce back and they're going to be totally fine, it was just a misunderstanding, then you maybe add that to your audience section as well. Just, I know that you're really chill about these things, but we wanted to check in anyway. However you want to adapt that for the relationship that you have with your client. The response format: first write the introduction to the call, then list a series of questions that we could ask, then suggest a conclusion and round off. Remember to leave space for the client's response, as this will be a back and forth dialogue. The tone should be conversational and friendly. It should be written as spoken. So we want this to be, we don't want it to be stuffy, kind of really obviously written script that you're following, because it's a phone call and it's going to be a lot more fluid when you have that conversation. So we've got, hi, client name. This is so-and-so from accounting firm. First of all, I just wanted to follow up and say thank you for your patience regarding the recent issue you experienced. I want to personally apologize once more for any inconvenience it caused and check in to see how you're feeling about how everything was resolved. If it's okay with you, I'd love to ask you a few questions to gather your feedback. It's really important to us that we learn from this experience and continue to improve our service. Would you be comfortable with that? So you might have a break after that first kind of paragraph as well to let them speak. Question, and it has put there pause for response. A couple of questions that you might ask: how satisfied are you with the way we handled the resolution of your issue? Was the communication throughout the process clear and timely enough? Is there anything we could have done differently? Now that the issue is resolved, do you feel confident in continuing to work with us? Is there any additional feedback or requests that you can have? So, and then we've got the conclusion. Thank you so much for taking the time to share that. Your feedback's incredibly valuable and we'll definitely take it into account to make sure we're always improving. If you ever run into any other issues or have any feedback, further feedback or requests, please don't hesitate to reach out. So we now have that little bit of a phone script. We know that dealing with issues and complaints can sometimes be a little bit awkward. So having a script like that to kind of at least reference, if not follow completely directly, can be useful in dealing with those kind of difficult conversations to have. And having that, asking for that feedback after the issue, can show that you are empathetic, you are sincere, you're asking for that feedback because you want to improve the service and you want to deliver that value. It's kind of trying to build that goodwill back up again after you've had that small issue where you've lost a little bit of that goodwill or lost a little bit of that trust. You're trying to build that back up again by showing that you still care and you want to improve that system for them next time. Okay, so that's a couple of options there for how we might approach writing out, whether it's an email or a script for a meeting or a phone call, however you want to approach that. You could also ask it for the questions that you put on a form if you want to do it in that way, and you want specific questions to ask. You can do a prompt for that. What we're going to look at now is a prompt for creating this, turning this feedback into a system that you regularly follow within your business. So this prompt is going to look a little bit different because this is the prompt that I mentioned earlier that has all these hashtags and asterisks and stuff in here. Now, in the academy, we teach you what all of these kind of little details mean, but don't let it scare you. We are essentially doing the same thing here. So rather than having it written out persona with a colon and then giving the persona, we're just putting the persona here at the top. And these asterisks will mean that those things are kind of emboldened and they stand out. We then have a task description further down. So this is just a slightly different way of laying it out that ChatGPT works a little bit better by having it laid out in this way. We have action steps that we want it to take. And then we have the different steps. So step 1 is to do these things, step 2 here. We give it a template of how we want the response to look. So this kind of replaces that response format. We're just giving it a lot more information here, a lot more detail, so that the response that we get is much more nuanced and exactly how we want it. So those prompts I showed you previously were kind of the beginner's way of approaching that, so that you are still ticking off those areas of giving a persona, a task, context, audience, response format. This one is a little bit more involved, it's a bit more in depth, and we're going to get a slightly more kind of detailed response because of the more detailed prompt. So let's go through this. You are an SOP specialist, so this is standard operating procedures. We're now creating a system within our business. You're a standard operating procedure specialist, skilled in developing comprehensive and clear standard operating procedures that ensure consistency, compliance, and efficiency in business operations. Some extra context for that. Your expertise in SOP creation guarantees that the processes are documented in a way that is both practical and easy to follow. Your task description. Your task is to create a standard operating procedure for process. Now, where we have these curly brackets, this is where we can now insert a variable. So we can use this prompt again for different processes. So maybe you have a process that is onboarding your client. We have a process for collecting feedback. We have a process for asking for referrals. You know, we've got different processes in the business that we want to document and make sure that we can give to our team members and train them on how to do these processes and follow a systematic way of doing these. So that process, for this one, we're going to have a variable at the end where we tell it that we're creating a feedback system, a system for collecting feedback. So we're using a structured approach that includes understanding the business context, following a logical sequence, and utilizing a standard SOP template. To complete the task, you must follow the rules, use the standard operating procedure template and the example to guide your response. So the action steps, we want it first to understand our business. So what we're doing with this one is we are giving it our website so that it can go and research our website, understand our business, and then have a better way of approaching the system that it creates for us, knowing a little bit more about the business. If you're already using ChatGPT, and like I said earlier, you have this information already in your custom instructions, then you don't need to include this, element. You can, instead of having the website, you can say refer to the custom instructions or refer to my ideal client and attach a document, or you can do it that way. So we want it to review that website, get that information. Step 2, we want to create that standard operating procedure using the template. So this would be our response format. We're now giving it a template of how we want it to lay that out. So we want it to have a number for the document, a version number, date of creation, the author. We then want the purpose of this procedure. We want the scope. So this is going to define the boundaries of the standard operating procedure, specify who it applies to, which process it covers, and any limitations. We have roles and responsibilities. So who in the business is going to take on this task? We have then the step-by-step process. So now, what is the process? What do we need to do? And we're going to show that in a table format with the following columns. Okay, so I'm not going to go into too much detail of the rest of that prompt. We have a couple of rules that it always wants to follow. Always ensure that the standard operating procedure is appropriate to the country of the business. So you either need to make sure you tell it that and include it in the prompt. So you could change that line. Ensure the standard operating procedure is appropriate to Canada, wherever it is. Always refer to staff as employees. Never use the word staff. And use the examples to guide your response as well. So if you want to add an example to that as well, you can do so. And then the variables we have here is your website and the process. So earlier on, we had those curly brackets for process. This is the process I wanted to create for this particular example. I want to create a feedback request email. So what it's done is it's gone and looked at our website. I've just provided it with our website for this example. And it's gone and looked at that and got an understanding of the business. And then it's created this process system, this system, the system process. So we've got the purpose. The purpose of this is to request feedback from customers, collect feedback, ensures continuous improvement. We have the scope. This applies to all employees responsible for sending out feedback. The procedure covers the creation, scheduling, and follow-up of feedback requests. Roles and responsibilities. So this is suggested that the marketing team are responsible for drafting the feedback requests, or potentially the customer success team, or maybe you have an automation specialist that is that their role is to set up the emails. So the step-by-step process we now have is we want to, step 1, draft the feedback email. We've got a little bit more detail of what we wanted to do, and then any references to other systems that you have. So if you have a system on a specific way of writing emails, you can reference that there. So it's just put a placeholder in there. Step 2 is add your survey link. Step 3 is schedule that email. Step 4, monitor the responses. Step 5, analyze that feedback. And then step 6 is to follow up on communication. So that's the way of creating a system for you there. Another thing I really wanted to show you is that you can summarize the feedback you get and get ChatGPT to give you a quick kind of report on how to take action on that. So in this prompt, we're short on time, so I'm not going to go into depth on this prompt, but I've given it a prompt that I've given it a document, and that document includes all of the feedback that we've got. Now, I made that one up using ChatGPT, but it's the document including all the feedback. So what you could do is, if you're using a system like Typeform or something, there'll be a button where you can download all the feedback and import that as a document that's going to have all of the different feedback types on there. You then give it this prompt that says, essentially what I want you to do is create a report, summarize all of that content, tell me what are the good things, where are the areas I can improve, and if there are any specific clients I need to respond to personally because they've put something kind of worrying or negative. So I've given it that entire file with all of the feedback we've ever received, and it's sectioned it here. We've got a little report. So the first section is the key highlights. Clients repeatedly praise our professionalism and timeliness of the service. Several clients mentioned that the team provides detailed and clear advice. Long-term clients highlighted the consistency and improvement in service over the years. The accuracy of tax filing and proactive advice is great as well. We then have areas for improvement. A recurring suggestion, so something that keeps coming up, is people want a more user-friendly online portal to improve their digital interaction. Several clients indicated they desired quicker communication. Some clients expressed the need for greater transparency in billing. A common theme was for more proactive financial advice, and people want more face-to-face meeting options and more frequent updates. So in section 3, I then asked it as well to highlight any specific comments that I would want to respond to with a more personal email. Either we pick up the phone or, we want to respond to that personally. Now, these were all made up ones, but we've got somebody's left this comment: I'm quite disappointed with the service this year. My tax return was delayed and I had to chase for updates. So we might find that person and then go and respond to them specifically so that we can deal with that. So that's one way of using this. Input that form with all of the responses, and it will read them all and give you suggested areas of improvement. So one of these areas of improvement was people might like a more friendly online portal. So what you can do is take that feedback and go and change your services or improve your services, and then let people know that you've done that. Let people know that you have listened to what they are saying and you've made a change that is going to benefit them. So what we're now doing is just writing an email that goes out to those people to say, we've been listening, we've made this change, and we wanted to update you and let you know. That's a really good way of making those clients feel important, feel heard and understood. So I've given it another prompt with my persona, task, context, etc. And it's given me telling it that I wanted to do that and write that email. And we now have an email that says, we hope this message finds you well. We're dedicated to delivering exceptional service and ensuring your experience with us is second to none. After carefully reviewing the valuable feedback you've shared with us, we are excited to announce some improvements we've made to better serve you. One of the key enhancements is the launch of our new online client portal designed to provide you with quick and easy access to all your important information, and so on. This change comes directly in response to your feedback, as we recognize the importance of prompt communication and easy access to information. We want you to feel heard and supported, and this new portal is part of our ongoing commitment to provide you with the highest quality. Okay, so it's written for me a really great email that I can then go and inform people that we are listening to that feedback and we are making changes to benefit you as the client, to make sure that we're constantly giving you that high quality service. Okay, so I think we're just about run out of time now, so hopefully that's given you a lot of good ideas of how to use ChatGPT to create these systems in your business so that you always have a way of getting that feedback in an automatic kind of way, so you don't have to think about it. You just make these emails and set them up, or you have pre-written scripts so that you know how to approach things. It's not difficult. You're removing that friction from it, because if it's a difficult conversation, you don't know what to say, you might be less inclined to do it. So we're removing that friction by giving you the ease of having that script to hand. And then you can create that into a system that you share with your team, so everybody's doing it in the same way. Nobody ever misses it out. Okay, and also that really helpful way of collecting all of that feedback and making a collective report on that, so that you can make those changes in your business and actually implement the feedback that you are getting. You don't just receive that feedback and kind of not really do anything with it. You can implement that in your feedback as well. Okay, so I don't see any questions. I hope that's been okay for everybody, and thank you everybody for coming, and we will see you on another one soon. Thanks everybody. Bye for now.